Hey guys, this is SUNSfan and syndereN bringing you a kind of a new thing to our guides, although I guess our guides haven't been around for a long time, so this will hopefully be a weekly edition where we watch Neil play the hero in question and see what he does right or wrong and just analyze everything in between. syndereN, welcome, good sir. I know you're excited.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Watching Neil do good stuff and hopefully some bad stuff we can have a laugh at. But yeah, like you said, the purpose of this is to, in addition to just the guide explaining how the heroes work, we get to showcase a player in action on the hero. And yeah, I guess we can already now start talking a little bit about how we do it. So we're watching player perspective. You might have even said that already. I'm not listening to what you say.
It's okay.
We're watching player perspective, so we're seeing exactly how he clicks, how he moves, what things he perceives around the map. First thing to point out is, of course, the item build. He's going into the offlane. That's what we're showcasing in this video, is the Timbersaw offlane role. You'll often start out with a stout shield like Neil has done here, and of course plenty of regen. Sometimes you get 2 packs of tangos and a salve like he's done here. Sometimes you only want to get 1 pack of tangos and then you get 2 branches with it. Kind of depends what you're expecting to go up
Not to cut you off, I have to mention this because even though he hasn't told me anything else about the game, the one thing he did mention is he stopped the animation on his timber chain. He's very proud of that. So he hit S in between just to save mana. So mana is a very important commodity here. I did want to talk about real quickly, syndereN, that the lineup he's going against. Of course, this is an AP game, I believe.
Yeah.
The lineup he's against is actually decent against Timbersaw. So this is pre 6.81, so the Dazzle Poison Touch is actually quite good. Disruptor's ultimate Silence is quite good, obviously. Enigma's ult in combination with Naga Siren's ult will destroy somebody like a Timbersaw as well as the rest of the team.
Malefice is annoying as hell.
So literally every hero. Oh, I guess the only one that you don't have to worry about too much is the Rocket from Gyro. But
Gyro is now called the Rocket.
Yeah, the Rocket Man.
Yeah. You're right. I think, so when you're playing Timbersaw in a game like this, obviously, as far as the lane goes, he's playing against a dual lane, which is a thing Timbersaw is really good at, because when you go up against 2 heroes, they generally don't zone you out that well, because, of course, you're innately tanky with your reactive armor, you have the stout shield and plenty of regen, so Neil is just making sure right now that it's not so much about getting CS, he only has 1, and it's very hard against 2 ranged heroes, but as long as he gets free experience here, that's the most important thing, and by staying close to his creep wave, it's not really worth it for the enemy heroes to trade blows with him because he has more regen than they do, and if they start fighting him, he gets reactive armor stacks and they get his creep wave attacking them. So he's just standing decently back, getting some, basically getting full experience here, which is kind of the goal. Enigma dies to neutral. That's
that could have been on purpose. Let me check the gold here.
That's a little bonus.
Tough to say.
Yes.
Sometimes people kill themselves in the jungle after they've spent all their money just to get back to base, but we're not going to investigate this further because we're watching Neil fail / play and not Enigma.
Yeah, so as we see in terms of skill build right now, he's leveling up the Timber Chain. This is usually what you do in the offlane. It gives you more travel distance, it gives you more speed on the chain, and of course more damage as well. It increases the mana cost by a little bit, but that's okay since what Timbersaw is mainly about in this stage of the game is just, like I said, surviving, and he's not really using his mana to farm anyway, so it's okay that it's a little bit more expensive. He doesn't run out of it right now. So just crack level 4. He got a point into Whirling Death. This is a common thing to do. Sometimes you'll get reactive armor even now, just to get even tankier. But in most cases, the first point reactive armor is okay. I would recommend getting 2 points if you can tell from the laning situation that you're under a lot of pressure. So you're really going to need that extra armor and regen, but in this game situation, there's no way Neil needs that. He used his 3rd tango about 4 minutes in, so he has a surplus of regen, and is probably right now just trying to get some farm and working on getting those arcane boots.
So I'm noticing that Disruptor is the solo top for the Radiant, which is very unusual. And I mean, that hero is extremely easy to kill. Even with like a glimpse early level, you should still be able to kill him. So I was actually just going to compare the levels because Neil's getting complete free experience, and you're talking about Timbersaw not exactly here. I mean, he's item dependent to some degree, like mid game for sure. You just want to get those arcane boots into a Bloodstone really quick, but levels are just way more important for somebody like Timbersaw as opposed to Disruptor, who shouldn't be getting anything in his lane, but they're the same. In fact, Disruptor's a higher level than Neil, which is shocking.
Yeah. I think this mainly comes down to the number of denies. Gyro has 6 and Dazzle has 6, so Neil just got less experience overall from that, because I think he was an XP range for everything.
And now Enigma's been pulling a bit, in the, or I guess Dazzle's.
So Neil is doing perfectly fine here, I think. The only point of criticism I have is that mechanically he could have got a few more last hits, but the way he's playing the lane is okay. He can't really commit too hard to a kill yet, since between Gyro and Dazzle there's a lot of burst damage. If Neil commits to trying to kill, he's gonna get into the creep wave, and then he could take significant damage from a Dazzle heal.
Okay, I know this is supposed to be about Timber, so I just how does Disruptor get first blood in a 1v2 at top lane? Who's that? Rubik and Wraith King. That's a good lane too.
The one thing about pointing out the Disruptor that's interesting is, of course, the comparison between offlaners here, how much he's getting. And yeah, we can't really think too much about that kill, to be honest. It could be many things, and we're watching Neil.
But keep in mind, for those watching, as Neil's going to take a little bit of harassment here, I'm sure, from Rocket Barrage, which is actually pretty good against Timbersaw if you can get in good position. The Radiant offlane is quite a bit easier, of course, just because of the lane positioning. But either way, not to harp on it, Disruptor should not be doing that well.
No, this is... yeah, exactly. So, again, in comparison to the Timbersaw, it's not about how well Disruptor is doing here that's a good comparison. Because, as I said, Neil, apart from his last hits, I think he's doing fine. So what I was trying to get at is, in some games, Timbersaw offlane can actually play really aggressively, even in 1-on-2s, since you're very tanky and you have good burst. But jumping into a Gyrocopter and Dazzle will just get you to tank a full Rocket Barrage, you will be taking the Poison Touch, and if you are starting to attack the hero, you will draw creep aggro, and then the Dazzle can heal those creeps as well. So Neil can't play this aggressively, really, until level 6. And he's going to get that in a moment, and then we'll see if he tries to go for some aggressive plays, because that's kind of the breaking point for Timbersaw on the offlane. He gets so much out of this. So Chakram is kind of mana intensive if you want to keep it running for a while, but just throwing it out and pulling it in isn't that expensive. It costs 120 in total, roughly. It costs 100 to cast it and then 20 mana per second, so a little bit in the travel time, then you pull it back. It deals good damage, it slows, and it sets up for you to hit your Timber Chain a lot easier because the target can't move so fast. So, we'll see if Neil tries to make a play on that.
Oh, he's going to need those Arcane Boots pretty soon. He's only 300 away, and looks like somebody's actually ganking. Who is that? Oh, it's actually Pudge. So maybe he can actually pick up a kill here. I mean, as long as he can set it up with the slow, that's pretty much guaranteed damage and slow. And there you see, oh, Pudge using our set, how convenient. And Timbersaw, or Neil, takes no part in that kill other than just standing around getting the experience. So good job.
I'm helping!
It's okay, Neil. He has his Arcane Boots now.
Yeah,
good
he got... yeah, he got Arcane Boots.
That's what comes out of that gank. He gets Arcane Boots.
Yeah. So... okay, now I want to talk about what Neil can do now. So he hit level 7 and he's gone for the classic build with 4 in Timber Chain. So now his initiation range is really long. It's 1450 latch range, 2800 travel speed, so really quick. 220 damage in that. We might even... yeah, okay. So right now he's going to respect them and get out. He's a little worried here that if he overcommits, he's dead to a Rocket Barrage. He had no creeps around him since his wave was dying. So it's very risky for him to go in. Now we just see that little bit of harassment there. He did... see, about 250 damage, I guess, with that Chakram, or 200 roughly, for about 100 mana. So pretty effective. It's forcing Dazzle to use the Shadow Wave here as well. And I feel like at this point it's just a matter of time before Timbersaw gets a kill here. So he has sick burst damage, and any sort of misstep from Gyro is going to get him in a position where if Neil hits all 3 abilities, he's almost dead from that alone. We'll see if he can.
Another thing to keep in mind is Rocket Barrage obviously is very good if you get in position for it. Which can be difficult, but Dazzle, despite being pretty good against Timbersaw just because of the mini stun, of course this is pre 6.81 with the mini stun right away and after 4 seconds, it's still physical damage along with every one of, I guess, his Shadow Wave, which of course if you have a bunch of reactive armor stacks, it's not going to do nearly as much damage as you're used to seeing, so he does have potential to get a kill here.
Yeah, the main enemy for him is obviously Gyro, who has the most of the damage. You have a good point there, with Shadow Wave being physical damage, the more armor Neil has, so when reactive armor is up, he takes less from that. We're gonna, I think, at this point, when now Pudge is coming again, I think the enemy team is actually aware of this. I don't think Neil is giving it away with his movement on the lane that Pudge is coming in. The mid is just called missing, so I doubt this is gonna bring a kill to it. So Neil's just gonna get some free farm. What we usually do in this scenario is if you're getting good farm, then your go-to item is a Bloodstone, which is going to, obviously, it's a great snowballing item. It gives you the health and mana you need. The health is very effective because you have armor from reactive armor, and you keep the mana and mana regen to be able to consistently use your spells during the fight. Neil doesn't have, as I said, the best farm in the world, but I think he has enough at this point. If you're completely crippled and you don't have like any gold, then your Bloodstone is going to be very late, and then it might not be the right pickup. But I think Neil is going to be able to get it at a reasonable time in this game. Not amazing, but probably early enough.
Well, and that's something to keep in mind when you're playing offlane. You can't expect to get free farm a lot of the times, especially when you pick a hero like Timbersaw to be in the offlane. Your role is to survive and get levels, and even though you said he's missed a lot of last hits, so he's had opportunity to get those last hits, he doesn't necessarily need them for him to quote-unquote win this lane.
The fact that he's level 8 is good enough here, I think. I would like to see him try to go a little bit more aggressive at some point, but again, it is kind of risky, especially against a hero like Gyro. If this was another type of carry that didn't have the same amount of burst damage, I was going to try to harass a bit. Awful, Neil, you missed your spells. It's gonna...
Oh, he's got a TP support, but he's falling back. Interesting. Pudge with our amazing set's going to do a ton of work. I'm actually casting this like a normal fight. I'm not sure why. I'm going to pick up all the kills, so that's good.
Yeah, so here... That almost went wrong with Pudge coming in. I think Neil was a little bit too cautious here, because there's one thing about Timbersaw that is both the curse and the gift of the hero. Is it's a kind of hero that can go really deep, and you can really commit with. And sometimes that's going to be your doom because you overestimate how much you can do, but at the same time, don't be afraid to fight when you have the levels. This is a hero who, in my opinion, wastes its potential in most games if it doesn't try to find kills. And when the enemy team starts aggressing on you like that and your TP support comes in, commit and take the kills. Maybe you'll die for it, but if you get 2 in a trade, it's probably good enough. And Pudge obviously set it up for him there. He tanked the call down.
Pudge has set up everything for him so far.
Yeah, Neil hasn't done anything in this game.
Well, again, not to beat a dead horse here, but that's kind of what you need to do. I mean, you need to get experience. That's the first and foremost thing that should be on your mind.
So
and I do want to note one thing. Sorry, I did mention this in the actual guide itself, but I have to stress it again. Do not buy the arcane, or I'm sorry, the energy booster a second time, because as you can see, it's showing in the bottom right as something he needs to buy, but of course you can just disassemble your arcane boots.
It's very true.
See that so much.
If you didn't do that, then Bloodstone would very much more rarely be the right pickup, because that extra 1,000 gold you would have to pay delays the Bloodstone by 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, and then it kind of loses its potential as a really good mid-game item. So the timing for that Bloodstone disassembling is really important. Now, if you noticed about 10 seconds ago or 20 seconds ago, Neil picked up a TP and started looking around the map, and this is a really good thing to do at this point. So even though he's getting full experience in the bottom lane and getting decent farm, he still wants to see if he can contribute in other lanes on the map. And when the enemy team is pushing mid like they were with Enigma and Naga, Timbersaw is an excellent minion killer. These summons from Enigma as well as the illusions from Naga, he can remove them instantly with Chakraman, a Whirling Death, or the Timber Chain. So he can play a big role in his team here in defending the towers, which, when you look at their lineup, is actually something they kind of lack. They don't have good wave clearing, as we call it. But Neil has amazing AoE abilities. The only other real hero who has that is Rubik with Fade Bolt, which is kind of subpar. It's high mana cost, long cooldown. But Neil can definitely get that done, so he needs to make sure they don't lose too many towers here.
Bottom lane, we see that the opposing team knows that Pudge is there. They've been underneath the tree line for getting close to a minute now, which is extremely cautious. Especially when you have a hero like Dazzle who can pretty much save anybody, including himself. Yeah. Hook incoming. And of course, he's using our set, so he's going to hit it. He's going to hit it, syndereN. I know it.
He is really patient.
It goes through creeps and everything. Oh! Big play. Oh, he does get the grave off, though. And this is the bane of Timbersaw's existence, getting silenced or stunned on a mass scale. Oh, that's a nice steal. Man, that is the loneliest Rubik I've ever seen.
Guys, I got black hole. I got black hole. Guys. Oh. No, guys.
That's something, of course, you have to be weary of when Enigma's in the jungle and there's 0 wards.
Yeah.
Other than on top rune, I guess. Or I guess there's 2 wards, but that's not even close to the positioning they were diving.
Yeah, and I guess we haven't talked about this so much yet. I said Malefice was a really good ability against Timbersaw. And of course, I mean, stuns in general are good against any hero. But Timbersaw is a hero who is so reliant on his mobility that if anything can disrupt his mobility, not with just one long stun, but with stuns in succession, that's the way you bring him down. And what makes Malefice crazy is it lasts long. The stuns themselves aren't that long, but the total duration that Malefice is on you before it ends is very long. And unless you time your Timber Chain perfectly, or if it's a short jump, you will get stunned mid-chain against that Malefice. So it makes it very hard for Timbersaw to escape the gank once he has been Malefaced, because if he tries to go for a long chain, which is how you usually escape, you're going to get stunned mid-chain by the pulse. And if you go for a short chain, you might not get far enough away, and then you get caught in the end anyway. And if Enigma catches up and black holes you with a team around him, you're obviously dead. So I think Enigma is a good example of a really good counter hero.
We didn't mention this, but what did you think about the Ring of Health pickup first instead of, because typically when I see a Timbersaw, actually goes completely Perseverance. I was expecting Point Booster because I think for the money it gives you the most stats spread out, at least overall. It's the best value.
This is a bit about player preference, but I feel like a lot of the time it's also just about habit. And the important thing in the game is to evaluate what makes most sense in the scenario. So I would recommend getting the ring first if you're in a lane where you're getting harassed a lot, so you actually get value out of the ring. Right now, I will disagree with the order he's picking up the items in. Not the items he's getting, but I think considering how relatively easy his lane was, how much farm he has, how much he can commit to fights, the problem with the Perseverance is it does what it's called, right? It helps you persevere, but it's not good for short burst engagements. It's good for extended farming and just staying in lane. But since that's not really the path this game is taking, I think the Point Booster and getting the Soul Booster first maybe even would be a better choice, or at least getting the Point Booster and then the Vitality Booster probably, and then
I actually want to look at the... Hopefully this... can I even look at the map here? No, or the... Never mind. I wanted to... Can you check the stats for... Actually, we're going to see an engagement first. So he TP's top. See a lot of ultimates coming out. The Static Storm to follow. Of course, we didn't mention that there's a Doom on the team. Thankfully, it's not on the other team. But the TP is enough for him to get at least 3 assists, I believe that was. So cleaning up pretty nicely.
He got 1 assist and 1 kill.
Okay.
Got the kill on Enigma and the assist on the Naga, I think. So...
And that boosted
this
his
goes
gold
to
big
show,
time.
I mean, this wasn't the most clean fight or the most clean TP, but it goes to show the potential this hero has. So one thing Timbersaw is really good at is, as said, he's very mobile, and he's not a fan of getting stunned or silenced. But when a fight is already going on, Timbersaw is one of the best heroes you can TP into counter gank with, because the way fights usually start off is that the enemy will commit their stuns and silences to getting a kill. So when you TP in, they're on cooldown. And that means when Neil jumped in there, as I said, not the best example, because that fight was looking really good already, but if that was a little more even, the fact that the stuns and silences are on cooldown would allow Neil to completely turn that fight around for his team by hitting his spells. And the side lanes, this is something we haven't talked about yet either, are really good for Timbersaw to fight in. So he's very dependent on the trees to use the Timber Chain. And that's why the river area in the middle is perhaps the worst area in the whole game for Timbersaw to fight in. The side lanes have a lot of trees on both sides, and especially the jungles are excellent for this hero. And the top lane we saw, he had the opportunity to jump on the left side with the Timber Chain. He hit a target with that, he hit the Chakram, and then that fight was over.
Should probably mention, and I want to ask you a question after this, but because it just popped in my mind, of course. And I did mention this to some degree in the guide itself. Timbersaw, of course, is great against tanky heroes because of the pure damage and whatnot, and of course the stealing of stats for the strength heroes at least. But it's actually really good against Naga because the illusions will take extra damage, and of course it is pure. And a lot, like later the game goes, the harder they're going to be killed. But for Timbersaw, they're going to be decently easy compared to other heroes. One thing I wanted to ask you: what are the stats that you get for a soul booster? I'm remembering what they used to be a long time ago. I think it was like 1 HP a second, like pretty weak regen overall. Can you tell me what the, like, do you gain anything from actually building the soul booster as opposed to the raw items themselves, you know what I mean?
So the point booster is 150 mana and 200 health. Then you add a mana energy booster to that, and you have 400 mana and 200 health. Then you add a vitality boost, then you have 400 mana and 250 health. And the soul booster gives 450 health, 400 mana, 4 HP regen, and 100% mana regeneration. So you get the 4 extra HP regen and 100% mana regen. So you kind of, when you combine these 3 orbs, you kind of get a perseverance in bonus. Which is actually a really good point, because if you manage to get that early, then the whole perseverance thing actually becomes a part of the soul booster. The one problem with that, though, is I wouldn't recommend in 9 out of 10 cases to disassemble the arcane boots until you have the full Bloodstone, as Neil does now. Right. Because your arcane boots still are really important. And even though you get that bit of perseverance bonus, you could say, on the soul booster, I don't think it makes up for the fact that you're losing your arcane boots, which costs you movement speed, it costs you, of course, the ability to regain mana, and also you can regain mana for your team, which is something to keep in mind. So he finished his Bloodstone at about 19.5. This is decent. I would say if you can get Bloodstone sub 20 minutes, it's the go-to item in almost every case. Good exceptions would be, as I said, if you have a bad game, then Bloodstone is, in my opinion, never the go-to item, because then it's not worth
Dire's
the money.
middle tower is
But
under
in some
attack.
cases, if you're up against a lineup that's incredibly good against your hero, then maybe Bloodstone isn't the best first pickup. Then maybe you need something like a Yule Scepter to get yourself some more opportunities to avoid abilities, a BKB even to completely avoid magic, as he's going to miss the Timber Chain. That's not too good. Gets the Chakra on top of Enigma though, so now he's going to be slowed here a bit. Does have mech, but he gets the combination afterwards. And yeah.
Beautifully done, Neil. What a professional player. And of course, the point of this video really is to show that if you follow the guide, even on the lowest of levels, you'll have some success. And the perfect example is Neil. I mean,
Yeah,
better.
Neil,
You know?
Neil's MMR is actually negative.
It's the only
Radiant's
negative
bottom
one
tower has
in the
fallen.
entire player base of Dota 2. But of course, once you get the Bloodstone, you have to be careful. And the reason the syndereN keeps bringing up the fact that it's a snowball item you don't want to get if you have a bad start is because the more you die, the more charges you lose. And of course, it's easier to lose charges because you lose them en masse. And it's way harder to gain them because you get one.
Yeah.
What is it? For every hero that you're around, you gain one, as opposed to when you die, you lose a bunch. So if you're going to be dying, not a good item to get. Yeah. I don't know where I was going with
exactly.
that. But
That's a good. No, you got the essence of that, because the thing is, if you expect you're going to be dying, let's put it that way, which I guess you could say is a pessimistic view on your game, but in some games it's just you need to get your job done and then you might die. Bloodstone obviously has the advantage of you healing up your team when you die. You can activate it yourself, so you deny yourself as well, so the other team doesn't get anything out of
Radiant's
it. And,
middle tower is
while
under
that's all
attack.
good, the problem is if you're buying this item expecting to die a lot, then it might not be the most valuable pickup. So in cases, let's say you're playing against, for example, a Doom, which is a great counter to Timbersaw, you have a couple of options. You can try to go for that Lincoln Sphere, and then even a BKB, so you're sure you don't get doomed. Actually, let's wait a second. Oh, that's a really good Chakram. It's 3, jumps over the top here.
wow, really late BKB from Gyro, which is a great counter to Timbersaw, of course. And he actually buys his 4 staff, so doesn't have to worry about too much other than losing his charges, which actually is quite a big deal, which he might do here. So I don't think he had time to do it there, but of
That
course
was still
something
worth
that,
it. He secured his team 3 kills.
right, well,
Radiant's
something to
top
keep in
tower
mind,
is
you
under
can
attack.
obviously deny yourself with Timbersaw when you have the Bloodstone, but I don't believe he had time to do that there.
I'm pretty sure he was caught by a Ministone or something. And
Yeah.
in the heat of the moment, it's kind of hard
Radiant's
to
top
do it
tower
a
is
lot
under
of the time.
attack.
But so as we see there, he had 10 Bloodstone
Radiant's
charges
middle
going into that
tower
fight.
is
I think he
under
got 2 or 3 assists or kills before he died. But then you lose a lot of the charges. Obviously, you lose a third.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
So unless
Radiant's
it's a third.
top tower
So
is
he had
under
12,
attack.
and then he went down to 8. And that's why you need to be a little careful, because while it's still a little bit better than when he bought it, it's not significantly better. Oh, never mind, you start with 8
Radiant's
now. I'm
top
still stuck
tower
in an
is
old
under
version where
attack.
you start
Oh,
with
yeah,
6.
6.
So it's as good as when he bought it now. So if you want to do a little bit of math on that, if it starts on 8, you need to get 4 assists or kills before you die, so that it stays on 8.
Top tower is
So
under
it's really,
attack.
it really is an item where you need to make sure you don't take too many casualties. And in this game, I think, as I said, it was the right choice.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, this is not a good idea.
Nice
He has
4
4
staff,
staff.
though.
It's gonna get
Dire's
glimpse. That
bottom
was not a
tower
good
is under
glimpse.
attack.
Still think,
Ooh.
oh, actually managed to get out here.
The beauty of Timbersaw can get out of the stickiest situations. And of course the rocket is gonna hit him, but
Beauty of Timbersaw, you can easily bait your teammate Rubik into trying to save you and get him killed.
they're making video of this, man. You need to save me, please.
Before Neil goes into this game, we actually haven't told you guys this. Before Neil goes into these games, he's like, okay guys, this is gonna be recorded. You need to make me look good. I'm gonna give you a shout out on Dotacinema.
Yeah, good luck with that. He lies, man. The cake is a lie. Oh, looks like he's gonna pick up another assist here, and of course, oh, he's gonna steal it from the Pudge. Although actually maybe Pudge wouldn't have gotten that, but
Yeah, and I want to actually point out something, which I think Timbersaw is a good example of a hero who can finish heroes off. There's a common consensus that there's something called like kill stealing, where a kill is definitely secured and then you get the last hit. But the most important thing for Neil is he needs to get charges on the Bloodstone. So even if he steals a kill or contributes to something where he wasn't needed, it's still a good move because he needs to get these charges that makes him stronger in the game. And in my mentality in this game in general, it's better to be safe than sorry on kills like that one. Maybe Pudge would have got him. But Neil, first of all, got a Bloodstone charge, and there's no point in risking him, the enemy hero, getting away. Just secure the kill and get out.
Now, something we wanted to talk about in videos like this are the opposing team and what they could perhaps do to prevent Timbersaw from taking off. And of course, we talked about how the heroes are actually pretty good against Timbersaw. We haven't seen too many Naga ults into Enigma ults. In fact, I don't think we've seen any. I think that Enigma ult we saw bottom was not set up by the Song of Siren, I believe.
Yeah.
But looking at the items from the Radiant, and of course, a big item that I would say is great against Timbersaw is an Orchid, and we're not seeing that being built, but this actually might be a team fight here, so... Speak of the devil! We're going to see two heroes in the Enigma Black Hole. But Timbersaw to the rescue, friends! Look at the burst damage! So good
nice
is Nigel!
He's gonna... This is very nicely played by Neil, almost. So... What's really nice here is that Neil has the Chakram outrunning in the fight. And then he 4-staffs on top of his secondary target and pulls in the Chakram. So it hits the Disruptor on the way back. And then he saw he got glimpsed, so he was trying to throw out the Timber Chain so that when he reached his glimpse target, he would jump back to the trees. That was actually a really nice attempt here from Neil, and he did the right thing there. Good initiation. Got key targets killed here and got some Bloodstone charges again. Doing solid harassment here. I think he might commit to this. So when you have a 4-step or a blink, you can do this because you always have Timber Chain as your escape mechanism as well. And he's gonna hit Naga here. Very nice. Jump into the tree.
Wow, they're diving deep.
Fairly okay on health. This is very brave.
And he's back to 8 charge.
Yeah.
He could buy Boots of Travel here if he wanted.
Could. We're gonna see what he gets. I wanna go a little bit back in the game actually, just in what we're talking about. So you're talking about how to counter Timbersaw and what the Radiant team could do. So one weakness Timbersaw has in the offlane that you always need to keep in mind when you're playing this hero, and which is way more relevant when you're the Dire than when you're the Radiant, is that Timbersaw does not really have a mechanism of messing with the creep wave. Oh my god, they're drilling outside again. I hope you can't hear that.
It's okay.
So if you're playing Clockwork, for example, you can clog the creep, so you can change the creep wave's equilibrium, or you can mess that up. If you have a hero like Lich, you can deny a creep, you can move the lane. Timbersaw can't move the lane. So the way you counter this hero when he's played in the offlane is your supports, 1 or 2 supports keep him away, and then you just hold the lane in place, and Timbersaw can't deal with that. So it's really important if you want to deal with it, and what you want to try to avoid when you're playing Timbersaw is that the lane gets to stand still. That's pretty much everything for this hero in the offlane.
Now let's be real. Let's be real here. I know actually that Neil is a good Timbersaw. Do you feel like he contributed enough in this game to feel like, God, how do I say this in a nice way? Did he make any difference in this game? Because it just seems like his team's owning.
Oh yes, so
in the laning stage,
his team is definitely owning, but he's been in 17 out of 27 kills. He didn't die in his offlane. He got significant experience. He TP'd to gank. To put it in a fair way, I think he could have done more, but at the same time, I really don't think he was irrelevant. There's many fights where he did a good job at hitting spells, doing damage, controlling heroes, and generally being a pain in the ass. And what you need to remember is every fight he survives but takes damage in, he's doing work for the team too. So this hero is kind of... What makes this hero powerful in the mid game is that you don't want to ignore him, but at the same time, sometimes you can't do anything but ignore him. Like, if you commit damage to him and you don't bring him down, you've wasted all of that, because he's doing all his damage while you're hitting him. He's just mobile, messing around with you in the fight, and then he jumps out. And in these fights, a lot of the fights, he took significant damage, and that means he takes it off his allies while still doing damage himself. So I would say a good performance, not stellar, but definitely showcasing what this hero can do.
I feel like, okay, as we're going to see the game close, I didn't know it actually closed in replays, but
Yes.
the opposing team, I feel like, could have done a lot more still. I mean, Naga Siren, this is a pub we're talking about. Naga Siren had a 16-minute Radiance, which obviously in a competitive match isn't very great timing. but I feel like in a pub it's actually pretty
Still
good.
pretty good.
Yeah.
He was a mid laner, right? That's
I
a fine
believe
time.
he was. I mean, either way, their team in general was set up to do well against him, and really any team for that matter, especially in a pub we're talking about. But for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. I mean, Disruptor got great levels, got a couple good kills, but just didn't have a huge impact on that game.
I think an important point to note about why Neil was doing a lot of damage in these fights is one thing Timbersaw is exceptional at is when heroes stack up, because he has 3 AoE abilities, and in a lot of these fights, I think that was one of the flaws in the Radiant's play, was that they stacked up a lot in these team fights, and Neil hit multiple hero chakrams, multiple hero timber chains, a couple of whirling deaths too. And if you're playing against this hero and he has farm, the one thing you always need to keep in mind is don't stack up, because then he's gonna... This hero, when he's having a good game, he can take some 1-on-2s, some 1-on-3s even, if you guys stack up, because then he just does all his damage in an AoE, maybe kills the target in the first burst, you don't bring him down, he gets 16 charges on reactive armor, suddenly he's almost impossible to kill, and he just keeps rolling.
What's Timbersaw's motto, syndereN?
Cut.
Get bursted.
Get bursted. Yeah, so, I mean, all in all, as I said, an okay performance here. You're right, the Radiant could have done more, but I still want to say the bottom line for me, when you're playing this here in the offlane, you're happy with getting experience, and that's everything for you when you're playing offlane in an unfavorable matchup, which pretty much any one on more than one is unfavorable for you. If you get experience like that, it's okay. You get whatever farm you can. As I said, Neil could have got a little bit more, but still, that was perfectly all right. And the real problem for the Radiant was that they couldn't keep him away. That's what you really need to do.
I gave this game a thumbs up. I hope you do the same, syndereN. I hope you guys at home do the same as well, because Neil deserves it after that great performance. I want you guys to let us know what you thought of this video, because this is I guess you could call it the pilot episode. We're looking to do this in conjunction with every guide we come out with, which we hope to be once a week. We've said that before, but we're going to try to stick with it this time. Other than that,
I'm there to make sure it happens.
yes.
Fuck, now I'm going to take the blame if it doesn't.
And actually, I guess now's a good time to say that we're coming out with other series as well on top of this, with help from syndereN. So look forward to that. Any last words, syndereN, before we wrap this up?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. As you said, looking for feedback on this, both things you find good and especially things you would like to us to include. So this is, as we said, kind of an experiment. So we're mentioning some things from the guide. We're trying to show the guide in action, and there's also some things from the guide we don't talk about. We also talk about some things that aren't directly in the guide, but it's a secondary way for us to try to show you what you need to think about as the hero, how you need to play it, and what you need to think about when you're against the hero. So we're trying to cover everything in these kind of clips, and yeah, we'd love to hear what you guys think.
All right, so until next time, friends, this is SUNSfan and syndereN. Oh, go tweet syndereN at syndereN Dota, because he's awesome. And if you hate my guts, then you can tweet me that you hate my guts at SUNSfan TV. Okay, later, guys. Ah!